Do you want to learn the best way to stabilize a dairy and plant-based whipped cream?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to show you 2 ways to do that in a toffee trifle. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Gellan.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. Here on WTF, every Tuesday we cover unique ingredients, techniques, and show you recipes that you can make in your own kitchen. So remember, subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll get notified of our content that comes out every single Tuesday. And this week we're going to tackle a question that we get pretty regularly, which is how do you stabilize whipped cream? So we're going to show you how to do it for both a regular dairy version as well as a non-dairy version. And as you can see, there's something really tasty here that Scott can't wait to tell you about. So Scott, maybe where we can start with today is kind of what's happening when you make a whipped cream and what's causing it to deflate.
Sure. So whipped cream is basically a foam. You're either doing it in a stand mixer or you're doing it in a whipping siphon, however you choose to do it. And you're whipping in extra air in the network of the proteins from the milk and the fat from the cream will hold on to the air, and then it makes a really nice whipped cream. But over time, they will start to pop the bubbles, and the more the bubbles pop, the more deflated it gets, and it gets basically just back to a cream if you let it sit long enough. Mm-hmm. But there are ways to hopefully, stop that and find out, how do I keep this cream good for a trifle or even on cakes? People like to use it on cakes if people are not into frosting. So there's ways to do that, and it's extremely simple to do. But unless you're told how to do it, it doesn't seem like an easy fix. Right. So with this, generally people will take some sort of powdered gelatin to it. And the reason why I'm not too big of a fan of that is because that powdered gelatin, depending on the granule size, can be a little bit gritty. So we like to use a Instagel, which is a cold setting gelatin. Most normal powdered gelatins you're going to put in here, they're not going to actually fully hydrate. They're not going to mix in completely. They're just going to soak up that water and stay where they are, whereas this Instagel will completely mix in, and it will set the entire whipped cream with the gelatin that's in it. But one thing that people are going to say, well, I don't want my whipped cream to be Jello-like, right? And that's something is, if you're using it in the right ratio, a very small ratio to the amount of cream that you're doing, you won't get that. It's just going to hold up that structure. We did it for like 2 or 3 days in the refrigerator. We didn't leave it out of the refrigerator because it would spoil the cream, but we were able to get really great, stand up on the peaks of the whipped cream just in the refrigerator. And as you can see, this trifle here has about a day on it in the refrigerator, and it is completely stable. So you want to go right in already?
Of course. It's whipped cream. I love whipped cream, even though I'm lactose intolerant and shouldn't have any. I don't care.
So I'm going to show you a quick demo just how easy it is. So if you've ever made whipped cream in a stand mixer, you're going to know how to do this. If you're using a hand mixer or you're even just using a whisk, it's going to be the exact same thing here. So you don't want to make it too sweet. We do have a good bit of powdered sugar here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the Instagel and mix it directly into the powdered sugar, because you add this later on in the mixing process. You're never going to just add this directly in and mix it up, because you want to start incorporating the air before you add any sugar into it. So I'm just going to get a spoon. I'm just going to mix this up so that Instagel and the powdered sugar right here. And then I'm going to get my mixer going. So like I said, if you're doing this by hand or with a hand mixer or a stand mixer, it's all going to be the same. First thing we're going to look for is some lines that form in the cream themselves. So you'll start to notice it goes from this very liquidy state, and then you'll start to see some cut lines from the whisk. And then when you start to see that, you're kind of on the clock, because if you let it go too far, the whey will actually separate from the fat, and you'll actually be able to make butter. So you don't really want super sweet butter when you do this. So once you start to see those lines, we're going to add in the sugar, and we're going to mix it just until we get this nice, beautiful, medium stiff to stiff peaks. But just know that they will become a little bit stiffer, because the Instagel will then set within the cream itself. So while this is mixing, we can talk about what we actually did here. So
Okay.
we took the whipped cream, we used it as a base for our trifle, and we went with kind of like a toffee trifle setup here. So we made a toffee sauce, and we actually have a version of this that's completely plant-based too. This one here is not plant-based, but we're going to show you a plant-based version. So you just need a plant-based cake that you can use. The nuts right here are just coated in some sugar, and they're actually coated in powdered sugar and then fried, so they get nice kind of crispy exterior.
Nice.
Some bananas, and then you make a plant-based cream, which we can talk about in just a moment. But I'm starting to see some lines form in my cream here. And once it's going to go a little bit, you see a little bit of frothiness around the outside. And this is just a normal heavy cream you can purchase at any grocery store. So once I start to see them around the edges, that's where I want to just lower it way down. I'm just going to sprinkle in my dry mixture here.
Okay.
So once this is in, I can watch it really well and allow it to make my cream. I also have some vanilla. If you want to use straight vanilla bean, you could absolutely do that. We have the vanilla extract that we have on the blog, link in the description below. If you want to use, vanilla extract that you make at home,
Okay.
whatever you prefer, anything's going to work. It's still whipped cream. Everyone loves whipped cream, but this is just a way to make it completely stable, so you're not having to re-whip it or throw it out if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And then also it's great if you're trying to make it for a party, you're trying
Yes.
to do something in volume where you don't want the first one that you're making to be already deflated by the time you get
Yeah.
to the 10th one. So this is a great tool that you can just add to your repertoire if you are looking to do like a whole batch.
Yeah, and let's say you did make this in a whipping siphon. People may have that question. Well, if I make it in a whipping siphon, the whipped cream is kind of on demand, right? But if I have 50 desserts or whatever, I can pump it out, place them in the refrigerator, and they're not going to deflate over the top. So you could still make this directly in a whipping siphon and have it still work, for what you need it to do. You need it to last a little bit longer. You're not going to get any odd textures from it. It's just going to be more stable, and that's what we want to do. All right, so this is finishing whipping up. So maybe we can talk about our plant-based one here.
Okay.
So here we took oat milk, and oat milk, relatively new right now, maybe in the last few years, but it's kind of delicious. I really like it. I prefer it over any other type of plant-based milk. But we wanted to make a way that we make a whipped oat milk. Now, is this going to be exactly like whipped cream? No, because it's oat milk. So it doesn't have the exact, fat ratio. It doesn't have the exact fat that a dairy cream has. But we wanted to make a way that we could have a really great whipped oat milk topping that is reminiscent of whipped cream, and it's still delicious. So we took some Gellan Gum F, and we made almost a fluid gel. So if you don't know what a fluid gel is, it's basically you make a gel and then you whip it up so that you have this really stable kind of fluid gel. We have an entire episode on that, link in the description below. I'm going to turn this off and we can talk about it in just a second. So we take that and then we add some foam magic. So fluid gels tend to weep out a little bit of their liquid, and we add in the foam magic there so we can grab onto that liquid and make a really beautiful foam out of an oat milk. And it's delicious. You put the sugar, you can put the vanilla, whatever you choose to have in it. So I'm going to take this, I'm just going to whip the center a little bit. So we have some really beautiful whipped cream here, right?
Yes, whipped cream.
You don't want it to go too far, right? You don't want to bring it to the point where the fat separates out and makes butter. So, I mean, you'll just have really, really sweet butter at that point. Right? I don't know, Janie, if you want to eat that entire thing. It's probably delicious. So, as we're going to do that...
It will make me sick, but I'm going to eat a little bit of it.
All right, so really simple. We're going to take some things. We're going to build just, this is more of a parfait than a trifle, but if you wanted to make one at home and you don't necessarily need to eat that entire thing, which I can totally understand, I'm going to put a few pieces of cake, any plant-based cake that you want. Right. Then I'm going to have some bananas. I like to place them down so that you can see them against the edge. Just a few. Now to fill in that bottom, we have some of our toffee sauce, and we actually were able to make a really cool toffee sauce using oat milk as well. So basically you make a caramel out of your sugar and you add some water to then thin it out. And once it cools to the right temperature, I add in the oat milk and whip it in, so you can have that kind of creamy sauce made out of oat milk.
Nice.
Because if you add in the oat milk when it's too hot, it can burn it and make it not so nice.
Okay.
Right? So then a few just candied pecans.
I'm going to eat a candied pecan.
And then I'm just going to use this. So I just shake down this here. We have this beautiful.
Ooh. You can see how stable that is.
Yes, and it works really well when building things on top of it. It does not deflate. We were able to keep this just like the regular whipped cream in the refrigerator for long periods of time.
Cool.
Without having it to deflate. So.
Yep, and you can kind of see you're putting bananas on it and it's not losing its shape at all.
Yep, so I'll put a few more things right on top. Then hit it with some more caramel sauce and we'll be good.
Yum.
So you get a nice layer of that cream on there. A little bit of the caramel sauce for your health. Oh, look at that. Get that shot there. And then just a touch more right on top. Whipping siphons. Right. You have a beautiful little parfait that's completely plant-based. And we also have a non-plant-based one. So whatever you need, whatever you're trying to do, you can absolutely do with the ingredients that we have here. And we were able to make some cool stuff.
Yeah, and I know that you can, obviously get the recipes and the links in the description below. And I think a question that might come up, so we'll just address it here, which is if someone wants to do a dairy whipped cream, but they want to avoid the Instagel because Instagel is a pork-based product, can they use the plant-based technique on a dairy whipped cream?
Yes, so you can use the plant-based technique. You just have to be a little bit mindful. You probably want to use like a skim milk or a low-fat milk rather than cream, because in the heating process it may not work the exact same, since these ingredients love water and there's a high content of fat, so that can change the ratios and make it not work necessarily. But if you use something like a skim milk or even a whole milk, something that's a little less fatty than heavy cream, it should be okay.
Okay, so there you have it. This is pretty easy to do and it's going to really help you extend the useful life of your whipped cream. If you have any comments or you want to give it a shot, just leave your comments in the comment section below, not the description, in the comment section below, and you can see how this trifle is being made right here on YouTube in a couple of days, or right now on Instagram at Modernist Pantry. So from here in the test kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Gellan. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified when we drop a new video.
To get today's recipes and all of our recipes, remember to go to blog.modernistpantry.com, where you get recipes, ask a chefs, tips and tricks, and more.
And if you haven't already, tell a friend so they know what's going on here at WTF.
And as always, to get any of the ingredients you saw today, you can go to modernistpantry.com to shop.
And until next time, we'll be here in the test kitchen, helping you create memorable and magical experiences.